But okay, when you were explaining me this whole process, we came across these terms, scalability, and then you're working on EC2. So now, these cloud certifications, specifically the AWS certification, it's like all over the market. How much do you think these certifications help to, get an interview at Amazon? And how should people approach these certifications?
So I would be completely honest with you. I had no knowledge of AWS before I gave the interview.
Exactly.
So yeah, as long as it might help you get the interview, but in the interview itself, yeah, I don't think they would talk to you about all these sort of stuff. But if you know these things and how these things work, it might help you in the system design interview.
Yes.
I wouldn't say that it would help you in coding, but it might certainly help you in the system design interview.
Exactly, because when you're talking about scalability, availability, I think these terms are really focused upon when you're doing the cloud certifications, and if you know very well about them, it's definitely going to help you during the system design interview process.
Yeah. In system design, one thing that they care about the most is scalability, because everything at AWS at least is at scale. Like if I work at S3 and the amount of data that gets uploaded every day is just it's 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 just huge. Some of the customers they would ask you like 80,000 TPS for uploading files, like 80,000 files per second they want to upload. So everything that they would be talking to you in the system design interview should be scalable. Also, they really value high availability. But these two things aside, depending on the system that they're asking you to design, they might put emphasis on durability or security, efficiency. I mean, you have to balance all these things. The system should be efficient, but not at the cost of availability, right? So yeah, so you have to make trade-offs when you're giving the system design interview, but it's also really important.
And I was just thinking when you were, talking about the Amazon interview, do they even take an interview on the analytical and the logical reasoning, kind of questions, or no, it's pure coding and then the behavioral round, or do you have these
Uh, I
analytical reasoning,
I
those type?
think this was the norm a couple of years ago, but nowadays they just focus on the questions. The questions themselves, they might have analytical side. So like one of the interview that I had, it was on arrays, but it was completely based on analytical side. So they wouldn't ask you directly, but they might ask you through a question.
Exactly. Okay, Yogesh. So the last question: how does it feel after being, part of AWS Amazon? how's the overall experience so far? It's been how many years? 2 years now.
So it's 2+ years now. Yeah. So initially, I would say when I joined Amazon, I was just overwhelmed because the number of resources, the number of things that you get to know, the infrastructure and everything is so vast. It's difficult to wrap your head around it in the beginning. And for 4 or 5 months, I wasn't that confident. But then there was one great engineer in my team who said that for the first 6 months, he was just useless. And everyone feels like this in the beginning, but don't lose hope. And certainly after some time, you start getting into things like, okay, this is how things work. Inside Amazon, like their entire thing is they have an entire world of things. Like they have their own chat system, they have their own mail, they have their own infrastructure, they have their everything is sort of their own. So initially, when I joined, in my initial days, I had like 50 tabs of Chrome open, and yeah, that it's a lot to grasp in the beginning. But then you start getting into those things, those complexities, they start getting to you, and then the good part about it is, at least in my team, you own the projects from end to end. So they would just give you one project and then just forget about it. So you design it, you code it, you get it reviewed, you'll have the operational review. You'll write the so there is I can't use the exact term that we use at Amazon, but there is a document that you have to write for deployment because AWS has like 30 regions. So
Yep.
you would write how you're going to deploy it, how are you going to validate it, what happens if something goes wrong. So mitigation, worst case scenarios. So like whenever you're introducing a new feature, they ask you to assume that it's going to fail. What are the mitigations in place if that fails? So everything has to be there in that document. So and then you also deploy it. So you code, you design, you code, you test, you integration test, you deploy, and then you also collect the results to show it off. So that's actually a good part. And when you do the design part, there are lots of trade-offs between the design. So all in all, it's really interesting work if you get into it. And then the best part is, well, best or the worst, that the problems that you would see, you can't just Google and get the answers. You just have to go dig into it, find out, and maybe put the answer on Stack Overflow.
Okay. Before we close this interview, do you have any words of advice for the people who are interviewing, who are in the process of interviewing or who are applying for Amazon, specifically AWS Amazon? What would you suggest them to study, how to prepare, and overall the whole experience?
Yeah, so I would say if depending on you know where, so everyone knows where they lie in coding. So you first have to accept where you stand, and then from there you start working towards it. So if you know basic coding, like whatever you can think you can code, I think you're at a really good point. And then you can start taking the course that I suggested. That's on NPTEL HRD channel, Data Structures and Algorithms. It's a really awesome course that would give you insight into data structures and algorithms. And from over there, you can start you can start solving questions maybe on Lead Code or Geeks for Geeks, or the easiest way to start is first solve cracking the coding interview book. It's really comprehensive and really good as a starter. And then on Lead Code, you get lots of questions that you can keep on going. Uh, you can keep it solving for a year, and the problems won't end. But once you get to those problems and you can solve them, that's the point that okay, I'm prepared for the interviews now. And then you can update your resume. But before you apply for Amazon, at least get some years of experience. They suggest 2. So if you have 2 years of experience, that would help you a lot. And if possible, I mean, it's not in everyone's hand, but if possible, those 2 years, if you can work in a company where they have distributed systems, that would be really awesome for your system design interview.
Okay. Thank you so much, Yogesh. I think that was really helpful. The viewers will really get to learn a lot from this interview. Thanks a lot, Yogesh. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, Nikita. Thanks for having me.
Bye.